Dave Meltzer got caught up in some hot goss with Zelina Vega. Let's take a look at this. So, it all started with this tweet from Thea Trinadad, aka Zelina Vega, in which she said, actual footage of dirt sheet writers trying to think of the next lie to post about me. So
Wow.
that's a little bit of a shot at some of the reports that came out when she was cut about the reasons that she left WWE and how that all went down. So and this was made after her return. So a little bit of a shot there. But one person who took it very, very personally, Trevor, was one Dave Meltzer. Meltzer was on his Wrestling Observer radio show, and he went on to call out Trinidad for these comments about Dirt Sheet writers specifically. On his show, he said that he took offense to her comments, went on to call them stupid, said that, when you use the word wrestling journalists and don't point out who you're referring to, I have no respect for you. That's a quote from Meltzer right there. And so it got a bit heated. And from Meltzer's perspective, what he specifically, I feel like, didn't like was the fact that she said wrestling journalists, dirt sheet writers, plural, meaning it encompasses Dave Meltzer. People automatically are looking at people like Meltzer, Sean Ross Sapp, and not necessarily someone else. There's a lot of dirt sheet writers who don't have the credibility of a Meltzer, of a Sean Ross Sapp. So there's a lot out there. I think Meltzer, in a way, he is kind of right to be a little upset. But after that, after Zelina Vega, Thea Trinadad, heard about these comments, she took to Twitter with some comments of her own. She says, "Hey Dave, instead of name calling, I'll ask you to please point out where I said all dirt sheet writers in that tweet, or would that make your aggressive and nonsensical argument invalid? You can keep your respect, as I lost mine for you when you started tearing down and degrading women in this business for no reason. I wasn't referring to you, but if you think the shoe fits, that's on you."
Wow.
lot to break down in that tweet.
Oh,
and
man.
there's more, but there's a lot to break down in that tweet. So she obviously took offense to the way that Meltzer came across in his comments, because he did come across pretty aggressive. And the specific line that she says here about tearing down degrading women in the business, that's a shot at Meltzer for comments that he made about Charlotte Flair and her appearance. So, and again, hey, I'm not touching that one, because Meltzer, I think, was wrong for that, because he went way over the line in those comments. But speaking of Meltzer comments, he commented again. Meltzer can't stay off of Twitter. He quote retweeted Thea Trinadad saying, "You should point out who lied and the specifics of the lie rather than a blanket statement and group people in one category. I explained that in detail, how horrible it would be to say something bad about wrestlers that only applied to a small percentage of them."
Well, Dave.
Ooh, that's a lot. So, Trevor, just so here's the thing. What is this? Is this a case of like misunderstanding and miscommunication, or is this something more? Is there something more here that we might not be privy to?
So here's the thing. I can't necessarily say it's a miscommunication when he did kind of degrade women. So that's something he actually said. So maybe not verbatim, but the comments he made about Charlotte Flair aren't okay. They're not. So maybe that was necessary. But like, I don't know, man. Like, I mean, he has made comments about Zelina Vega and things like that. I mean, it could be a misunderstanding. It could be just one journalist speaking their mind and speaking it to a point where no one really needs to hear that opinion, but he wants to put it out anyway. And Zelina caught wind of it and said her piece. I mean, things sometimes, and I'm putting up here, sometimes things said by journalists and media are mistaken. They're not. Sometimes it's taken out of context, and people take offense. Now, other times they're taken directly in context, and people should take offense. But in this particular situation, I say maybe it's a little bit of both. Maybe it's a little bit of a misunderstanding, and a lot of what we haven't read or don't know about.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you on that. It's a little bit of both. I think there is a lot of miscommunication, but I also think that if you look at it on the surface, right? I understand why Meltzer is upset. I actually do. Because
Yeah.
Dave Meltzer is someone who gets a lot of flack from wrestlers, from podcasters like Eric Bischoff and the guy Bruce Pritchard from Something to Wrestle With. Bruce Pritchard literally came out with a shirt that said "fuck Dave Meltzer"
Oh yeah,
and
definitely.
sold it. So like he gets a lot of flack, and a lot of it is unnecessary, if you ask me, because Dave Meltzer is literally doing what anyone in any industry does. He's reporting on what's going on in the wrestling business, just like how people report on sports, just like how people report on actors. It's an industry. You're going to have someone report on it. It's a niche. Meltzer likes to do it. And you know what? For a very long time, he was very good at it, and he still
It
is
was.
pretty good at it.
Yeah.
But that aside, I think his comments here are very out of line. Like, here's
Yeah.
the thing. While I empathize with the fact that, maybe this just set him off, he kind of saw this and he thought it was a shot at him. While I get, like, maybe this was like the straw that broke the camel's back for him, the way he came after Thea Trinadad, the way he articulated his argument was unfair. It
It
was
was.
unfair because, she obviously didn't name him by name. It was unfair because he just comes across as overreacting to the situation, quite frankly. Because if you look at the tweet, this was a very, like her initial tweet was very, very, like, tame.
Yeah.
This was not something to make a huge deal about. It's not like it was just a tweet. I don't think it was something to write home about, something to be mad about. But, he took it up a notch, and then she took it up another notch. And look, as much as I appreciate Dave Meltzer, the work he's done, and what he means to the wrestling business, I can't really defend a lot of what he's done here because it just seems like he's escalated this.
Yep.
And while I empathize with him being frustrated probably by being called out every single week, by being trashed on Twitter all the time, he overreacted here. There's really no other way to put it. He shouldn't have went after her specifically like the way he did. If he wanted to make a point about, like this and other things, that would have been different. But coming after Thea Trinidad was completely, I think, out of line the way he did it.
Yeah.
Um, and it's miscommunication. I genuinely believe part of it is miscommunication. I think he read into it way more than she did. I think he just read into that tweet way more than she, and honestly everybody else did. You don't see Sean Ross Sapp, who also gets called out a lot, not as much as Meltzer, but a lot. You don't see Sean Ross Sapp doing things like that when, Thea Trinidad or other people tweet about them. It was unfair on Meltzer's part, and I hope like eventually he understands that and they can move on. But I don't know. I think this was pretty bad. I think this was
Yeah.
actually pretty bad. Like it really tore. Like, it's weird though. There were a lot of people defending Meltzer, and again, while I empathize with defending Meltzer, like as far as the amount he gets trashed on for unnecessary stuff, this is just nah. You can't do it.
No, this is unacceptable. You can't do it, especially on that platform. Like there's just, but like you said, she said it's nothing she really said. Like she didn't make a direct comment to him. Like he's the one that got butter and took it personal. Like in the person of his stature, you can't do that. You get the person with like David Meltzer, who has his name, has his credibility. You can't do that because right now it makes you look like an idiot. It really does.
Childish though. All of this,
Yeah.
like all of this is childish. Like, I just want to be
Oh,
clear.
yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Thanks for watching this video from Real Take Sports Talk. Remember to like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. Also, remember to check out our live show every single Thursday at 8 p.m. right here on the YouTube channel. And remember, keep it real.